Which beats were the ones where you felt like, okay, now I've moved in, I have a voice?
I think Keep It Thorough was like real important because I remember at the time when I first got with Mobb Deep, the joints we did, I was like, you know, the realest, which people love now, but it was like a loop. You know, not getting too technical. There wasn't a lot of busy work underneath the hood on that one.
It was just a great,
It was a great moment. It was the right timing. It was the EQ. The engineer, Steve, the engineer, did a lot of work because there wasn't much to do on it because it was a loop. But we gated out the kicks and snares and re-added them, and we did some work, to say, you know, the least. But it was still like one of my favorite beats at the time. Like that beat on was, I used to call it an interlude. At the time, some of my favorite things on albums were interludes, like the Gang Starr interludes, the De La Soul interludes, Pete Rock interludes, Muggs interludes. Those moments in between songs were some of the greatest moments. Sometimes I was confused why they didn't rap to them, you know, but they were usually not technically, from a producer standpoint, amazing. It was usually like, I'm gonna just one shot this and just loop it, it sounds fresh, and this is gonna be an interlude. So I would put those on my beat tapes. Like I would have a real crafty beat, and then I'd have a loop joint and be like, ah, this is an interlude. And I was calling that an interlude, you know? And so when it came out and everybody loved it, like I was kind of insecure. Now thinking back, it's funny. I used to like make these like excuses when someone would say they like it, like, yo, that joint is dope. Or like see like K-Slay or Flex one time. He said it was on. I'm like, yo, I got some other shit though. Like, cool, yo, you know, trust me, I got some other shit. Like I was always saying, okay, but wait till you hear this other shit, because it was like, I didn't know how to accept it yet. Because I was from a school of beat makers where it was like that, it was kind of a no-no. Like, yo, you just looped it? Like, it was nothing technical to it, you know? And I've grown as a producer, obviously, but at that time, that's how I felt. So after that, and like a couple things there, I felt like I gotta prove I'm not just a guy who found a good part of a record.
Were there any sort of like internal politics that you had to sort of navigate, given that Havoc had produced basically everything from the second and third albums? And
I never felt that, ever. I always felt like, because when I first came around, they were getting some beats from Nasheem at the time, and they had got a couple outside producers, and I was super inspired by Havoc. Like Havoc was one of the greatest, still is, and I learned so much from him. Like I think it's a blessing that he never felt threatened. I think it's a testament to his ability too. Like he's Havoc, so I don't ever think he felt like, damn, he letting someone else in there is gonna do all this work, because he was so good. And I just remember like being so jealous when I would go to the studio to see them, because at the time I had little tiny speakers, smaller than these, right? 2 little speakers in my studio apartment, and I had to keep the volume down because of my neighbors, and it was like these confined scenario that I had to make music. And I would go to the studio to see them, and Havoc would come in, and he'd just be drunk, and he'll have a disc that he sampled some shit at his crib, he put it in the MP, he had his whole crew with him, and they all looked at him like, you are the god. They loved when he would make a beat on the spot. He would come in there, turn the shit up so loud, and throw the disc in and just start making the beat drunk from scratch. And Gotti would be in there swinging his arm, yo, annoyed, and everybody is like, he's the best. And I felt like he was like channeling the energy of everybody's, like he was speaking for all of them with the beats. Even P, everybody, like he knew how to pull from everybody, but he knew the drum patterns, and he knew how to like make the bass lines rock. And I mean, he was taught by, you know, Large Professor Diamond D, Large Professor Pete Rock, Premier.
Yep.
So obviously, and I learned so much just being around Havoc that he doesn't even know, I don't think. Just how to like drum patterns, certain ones that sound good. Shit that's just like natural for him that I don't even think he knows what he's doing. He's just so good. And so I don't think it was ever, I never felt like I was stepping on his feet, because you also have to remember like Havoc always did the majority of Mobb Deep albums. So even when I came in, it was like a pinch hitter.
Okay.
It was like do a couple joints. Havoc got the bulk of the album. You know what I'm saying? That's Chris Lighty, God bless. I give him a lot of credit because he knew the formula once we figured it out. There was Mobb before I existed. Once I came into the mix and they added me in, there was like a formula where Havoc would do 80 to 90%. I would come in, do 2 or 3, and they'll get one other producer or two. Voila.
So once you get the Mobb and then the Prodigy records out, your name starts to really ring off in terms, in a larger way in hip hop. What was the process like of trying to sell beats back in 99, 2000, 2001?
Yeah, selling beats back then was a lot of a hustle, but it was very, you had to be physically out there. Like there was no email. And if you didn't have a guy on your team who was doing it for you, which was kind of rare back then, you kind of had to be your own machine. So, staying home and making beats was like the one part of it, but like it was aggressive. You really ate what you killed at the time. And that was really the basis of it. Like, I got a new batch. All right, cool. I got to hit up everybody this week because I'm trying to start a bidding war because shit, I'm trying to go to Joe's session and play something for him. And if he likes it, I'm like, you better cut that. It was all about who's cutting that first half and when. Like, you want the beat? Cut the first half because I'm about to go to see Puff. Puff likes that joint. He's working on whatever. And I remember seeing a lot of that. Like, as producers, we were like salesmen. You know what I mean? So it was like you would hope to get someone to bite on the beat. Or I would, okay, Battery Studios, who's over there working? All right, so-and-so's working there. Then I would try to ask, yo, who else is in here? Anybody else? Yo, just pop up. Like, yo, what's up? I got some shit. Can I play something? Or sometimes I would come through and I'd have to wait an hour and sit there while, go to see Pun. But then Sean C came to play beats or Mike D came to play some beats. And you got to wait. Charlemagne, the producer, and then, okay, then it's your turn. And you might be sitting there waiting with your dad. And then they play somebody else plays something that's crazy. And now you're like, fuck, I don't have that. Or you might get intimidated like, oh man, And it was all the producers, we kind of kept each other on, we stayed on our toes because of this, because we were able to hear what everybody else was doing, to hear your competition, to see what, Rockwilder's doing. Like, he used to kick my ass every time I'd see him, and he'd play some beats. I'm like, he's here? Like, we'd walk in and be like, nah, I'm gonna come back another day, man. This ain't fair, He's too good. We really respect each other. Like, I felt like the camaraderie with producers is different than rappers. I mean, I think rappers love and respect each other, but I really fuck with other producers. Like, I hear people that are so much better than me.
It's not as competitive, like directly competitive.
It's competitive, but there's enough room for all of us. It isn't like this town ain't big enough for the two of us.
What was that feeling like, though, when you're sitting there in front of Artist X and you play your whole beat CD and they're just like, cool?
It was rough. Yeah, like, I remember some rough nights trying to play beats and it's just not hitting. Or they would just send you home and, make you work harder. And also, like, I saw people sell beats before by their, like, antics. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Or, like, that's when I also realized that, like, beats are cool. But I think I was a quiet person and I felt like I needed the music to speak louder than me. So I felt like the music, I was always like, let me get to press play, man. I'm not trying to hit you with a whole song and dance in a spiel and do a bunch of shit to sell this. That was never my thing. Like some producers, like I used to watch Premiere, he would like press play and turn his back and have his face to the speakers. He wasn't even looking at you. Never made me think insecure. It made me think, this shit is good. I ain't got to look at you in the eye and be like, this is it, And it's like, yeah, I've seen that happen too before. Like I remember, we were doing the Godson album at Electric Lady. We were finishing the album. Nas was working on Godson, and we were finishing the mixes. I had done a couple songs on the album. We were over there at Electric Lady, and this was the mix down sessions. The album was done, and like the door just busts open, and in comes my man Grady, and behind him is Swizz. Swizz best friend is this dude, and he's like, hold on, Nas in here? You know you can't finish an album without Swizz Beatz. He was like, give me the tape, Grady. And Nas is like, what's up? We all said, what up to Swizz? Like, Swizz made a movie. He came in there, grabbed the dad. He's like, hold on. Put the dad in, press play on this beat. Man, he turned the knob on the board to ear bleed. Like, he turned it as far as it could go. Then this beat came on. It was so loud. The soda can that was on the table was dancing to it, right? And it's playing at an ear-deafening level. And it was hard. And he's just looking at Nas, right, like this. And he's like looking at Nas, staring at him like this. And then Nas looks at him and he's like, yeah. Like he like gangstered him. Like it was so loud, you had to move. And then he leaned over and said something. I think he was like, let him hold the beat, or like, you can just use it, whatever. They ended up making a song and they made the album. I forget what it was. But it was like, it was a great beat.
Yep.
Swizz is incredible. But I also saw the power of, you know,
The sale.
presentation, the sale. That never was me.